and I knew we were going to be good friends the first time I met her because we had a bottomless mimosa event.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 0 of The Grid Gals. If you want to hear us get into Formula 1, you can head on over to episode 1. But in this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about how we all became friends and how we became fans. So Jack and I actually grew up together. We went to high school together, we went to college together, and then actually lived together starting in college, and then later on here in Chicago. But I had an extra semester at Michigan State, and so I stayed in East Lansing. And then she graduated and moved to Chicago, where she met Catherine.
Yeah, so I had met Catherine a year prior when I was interning over the summer in Chicago. We were randomly assigned as roommates, which great luck, honestly. I feel like people either have really bad horror stories about roommates or really great stories, and this is one of those cases where I really lucked out. So we moved in together once we had both moved to Chicago to start our full-time jobs, and Mary joined us once she ended up graduating a semester later.
Which worked out perfectly because I had gotten to know Mary the year that she wasn't living with us, and I knew we were going to be good friends the first time I met her because we had a bottomless mimosa event.
Oh my god, I forgot the time I met you.
Yeah. Which was a true bonding experience.
Which, for those of you who have never had the true joy of experiencing a bottomless brunch with Catherine Patton, it was truly bottomless and went way beyond brunch, and was quite the bonding moment, and that's when I knew we were going to be best friends.
So Mary and I became fast friends. So 4 years and 3 apartments later, we all decided to do our own thing, but came back together to do this podcast.
Because clearly we don't spend enough time hanging out. Although, I mean, much to everyone's confusion, I still refer to them as my roommates, even though I live alone, which sounds really creepy if you don't have the context.
Oh, yeah.
Just marrying all of her personalities.
No, I definitely do the same thing because I'll be talking to someone about, naturally when you're on a work call, they're like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? I'm like, oh, I hung out with my roommates. One of the guys I work with is like, don't you live alone? Shoot, my former roommates, my bad. So the next thing we should talk about is why we decided to start this podcast, and really we needed a new hobby.
And like most people over the past couple of years, we spent a lot of time in the house. And we tried a couple different hobbies with varying degrees of success. We tried to start a little kickball league, which was really more of a beer ball league. But here in Chicago, it gets pretty cold.
Gotta switch to winter sports.
So we tried broomball, and that didn't go so well for us either. Within the first 5 minutes, I broke my wrist, and Jack is still nursing some pretty gnarly bruises.
Yeah, for those of you who aren't from the Midwest or aren't familiar with broomball, it's basically just hockey without the skates, playing on ice with very little padding, and for a couple of gals who maybe aren't the most coordinated at times, it's amazing that we came out of here with as little injuries as we did. So we had to figure out a new hobby.
I'm surprised because I thought Mary'd be the one to get hurt. Because you're not as coordinated. I feel like you are bumping into things.
I kind of lack spatial awareness, but I grew up as a figure skater, so I'm definitely used to falling on ice. The trick is, guys, you fall on the fat parts of your body, aka your butt. Also, you know, we're all from the Midwest, we're Midwestern gals, but not gonna lie, once I see single digits, I'm not feeling that brave. I don't necessarily want to get out there on the ice, so we're looking for an indoor hobby. And like the classic millennial friend group does these days, we figured we'd start a podcast. And what better to talk about than Formula 1?
It all started with Netflix, watching Drive to Survive. We binged all 3 seasons in a concerningly short amount of time. But we really got into it and watched the entire 2021 season live.
Yeah, and I mean, To be fair, I don't think I know that many Americans, at least, who were big F1 fans before the Netflix show came out.
Right. Yeah, because I was kind of disappointed I didn't hear about it earlier. I definitely would have watched it before.
Oh, yeah.
Before Drive to Survive, but that was actually the first time I've ever heard of it. So, because immediately when I watched the show, I called my dad and I was like, you could have made me a kart when I was younger and we would have been a great team.
Well, I knew about, I knew there were other types of racing because in Detroit, there is an island called Belle Isle and they host a Grand Prix. And they don't host a Formula One Grand Prix. I think they did historically back in the day, maybe back in the 70s. But they'll host IndyCar on Belle Isle. And so I knew there were other types of racing, but with NASCAR being so prevalent, I just assumed that all racing was very similar to that. I didn't realize how different Formula One was. But I love cars. I think cars are really fun. I like driving fast. I like driving fast cars. I don't think you should put me in a Formula One car yet.
No, but we do get to put you in a sports car soon.
Mm-hmm. These ladies are the best, and we'll have to talk about that on an episode when we actually get behind the wheel and drive fast. Oh my god!
And it's going to be recorded.
I was gonna say, I just remembered.
Not Jack or I's, but Mary's will be recorded.
Yep.
So we'll have full footage and photos.
Yours aren't recorded?
No.
We decided not to get that package for us.
We didn't need to see that.
But we wanted your ride.
It was your birthday present, so we had to record yours.
I didn't realize that. I thought they were all recorded.
Nope, just yours.
Oh, lucky me. My face is going to be like... You can't see it. I'm shoving my cheeks out.
It's going to be cute. I'm really excited. We'll have to put some snippets on our Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so getting into how we started to watch Drive to Survive.
To be completely honest, I don't remember who told us to watch it. It was definitely a show that was recommended. But I don't remember if somebody specifically recommended it to us or how exactly it came up. But there was one day that I think it was just you and I, Catherine. We were home and we threw it on. Honestly, I think it was probably one of my coworkers.
Yeah, because I remember watching after work.
Yeah, I think one of my coworkers probably told me to watch it. And I was like, okay. I mean, the gals know this, but I promise a lot of people I'm going to watch a lot of things, and I never do. I'm really bad about following through on my watch promises. But this was one of those, I was like, I kind of like the documentaries. They're pretty easy to just put on in the background, and then, like a lot of people, just play on your phone, eat your food, and live your life. Not the case.
I've never been so stressed watching a show. I'm pretty sure I had just gotten an Apple Watch when we started watching this, and it would repeatedly just tell me to breathe over and over in every single episode we watched together.
I was hooked. I mean, from the beginning, and then I don't know who recommended it to me, but I can tell you I recommended this show to so many people. I was like, it's insane. I didn't know this sport existed. It's global. You're going all around the world. It's fast cars, beautiful men, exotic locales. What more could you want? And then we started watching the real season.
Yeah, but before we even started watching the real season, we bought tickets. We bought tickets to Austin. How many episodes in? Probably 6, 7? And I think that's when we found out the loyalty Jack has to our opinions, because she immediately bought tickets with us with only seeing maybe 1, 2 episodes.
Jack is straight up a ride or die, because to put this in context, I remember buying the tickets on a random Tuesday morning or something and ran up to her desk and I was like, Jack, are you in? Austin, full weekend, $200.
Yeah,
are you in?
I mean, she had to pay for tickets, the flight, the hotel stay, all just based on our word that it's going to be awesome. I think it lived up to the hype, though.
And she did.
Yeah, I was going to say, there are a lot of things that the three of us do together, but for some reason, watching Drive to Survive is not one of them. And then I'd been to Austin before. We'd actually done a girls' trip to Austin a couple years ago. Love the city. And Mary came running up to my desk, and I had seen maybe 1 episode at this point. And definitely liked what I'd seen at that moment, but I'm like, all right, if we're realistically going to continue to watch this, and yeah, like in a lot of things, I do trust your guys' opinion, but looking back on it, I had to have a lot of trust in you that I was going to like this, but I'm so glad that I did. Definitely really grown to love the sport from your guys' recommendation. So thank you to either your coworker or Netflix. Who's to say who officially recommended it to us, but...
Big question mark. Sorry we can't give you credit, whoever you are.
Also, the episode I had seen had Daniel Ricciardo in it, and I was like, all right, I can get on board with this sport. I'm good with it.
I will say it is kind of funny now that we have watched a whole season, because when I started to talk to some people who did watch Formula One, they had said that although they liked Drive to Survive, it's very interesting once you've watched a season to see how it's portrayed in the show. And having watched this season, which we'll certainly get into in a little bit, I am going to be very interested because...
We saw a lot of drama even just watching the season. I feel like
Yeah.
Netflix gets to go behind the scenes and everything, gets to go in all the garages, so it's going to be a good season.
But on one hand, they're kind of limited by how willing people are to participate. Like, the first season was a lot of Haas.
Yeah, that's true. Because the first season, I think there was only a couple teams that had agreed to do the show. And then...
Yeah, they didn't show Mercedes at all.
Right, I think Mercedes and maybe, was it Ferrari came on later?
Yeah.
Those were the two they didn't have access to, because I know Red Bull was still involved, obviously.
But I'm sad that we're not going to see Max in the new season.
I was going to say.
I don't know when he officially pulled out of doing the show, but he's out for at least a portion of it.
Well, I was going to say, and I wonder, like, is that effective when he pulled out? Like, will there be material from the season before he made that decision, or did he just pull out entirely? Who knows?
I think it was halfway through the season. So everything that went down, if you think about that, and obviously we'll get into it coming up here on this episode, we won't really have his side of the story, so it'll be interesting to understand what was going on, and you'll have to think through that and how it's portrayed, knowing you really only have probably Lewis's opinion on most things.
All right, gals, I think it's time we talk about how we chose our teams. And I feel like I should start out and say that I was a Red Bull fan before Max won the World Championship, because now I don't want to be one of those bandwagon people that only chooses the winning team. But I was a Red Bull person before he won, when we were watching Drive to Survive, and there are different variations of this story. Mary thinks I was originally a Hamilton fan.
Well, I will caveat this with, you're a fan of winners. And so I feel like when we first started watching, Lewis had been dominating the sport. And so naturally, I feel like... Also, I mean, Lewis Hamilton, incredibly talented, very attractive man. What's not to love, honestly? Until you follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, I think that kind of ruined things for me.
I genuinely think that we all used to be bigger Lewis fans until we followed him on Instagram.
It's the videos, selfies that he takes. It's bad.
The jogging videos, or like when he's on the stationary bike, I'm sorry, I can't do it.
I just can't take it seriously. I'm sure there are a lot of people that fangirl over it, because, I mean, he still does look great, but...
For sure.
Not my vibe.
I want to know his skincare routine.
Oh my god, yes.
You gotta know.
Best skin of any athlete I've ever seen.
Hammy, I'm sorry we just shit on your Instagram, but if you're listening, drop the skincare routine. The girlies need to know. Also, I will say, you've been a Red Bull fan even before you found Formula One. And I think part of that, too, is Red Bull sponsors a lot of other sports, especially extreme sports, and they sponsor films. And one of the films that you introduced me to that, I mean, for other fans out there, The Art of Flight.
Beautiful film.
Beautiful. And, like, Jimmy Chin as a filmmaker, I think some of his other stuff may have been sponsored by Red Bull as well.
And we actually met Jimmy Chin at
We did.
Oktoberfest.
Oh, I fucking forgot about that.
Yeah, we met Jimmy Chin at Oktoberfest. And I was like fangirling because
I remember now. How the fuck did I forget that? Like, people be like, oh, have you ever met a celebrity? And I'm like trying to think back. I'm like, yeah.
Because you drank like 8 liters of beer.
Met Jimmy Chin. Fucked up.
We were at Oktoberfest. That was the assignment.
Yeah.
We delivered. We delivered on that assignment. But we also met Jimmy Chin. I feel like that's pretty cool.
No, you're so right. You're so right. But, so I feel like you have a history of liking Red Bull in general.
Right.
But I do think when we first started watching, you were a Lewis fan.
Maybe. Yeah, and then once I saw that Verstappen was really coming up in the ranks, that's when I chose to back him officially. When we had to choose teams, when we at some point when we're sitting on the couch, we all said we have to choose a team, and that's when I officially chose Red Bull.
For me, it was an easy first decision. I know I mentioned this earlier, but one of the first episodes that I watched had Daniel Ricciardo in it. You know, he's not hard on the eyes. He's got a great personality. You have to kind of vibe with his story, and I like a comeback story. So definitely got on board the McLaren train pretty early on. And as I started to watch this season, I really started to like Lando as well. And my brother actually follows Formula One, and he's a big Lando fan. So we both, as a family, support McLaren, which is kind of cool connection.
And I'm the biggest weenie of the group, and it took me the longest to make a decision. Because, so first and foremost, I'm a big Sebastian Vettel fan. Love Seb.
Who doesn't love Seb, though?
Fair. And so when I first started watching Drive to Survive, he was a Ferrari driver. And for me, I mean, that definitely played into my choice to support Ferrari. But also, they're such an iconic team. I mean, how can you not love, like, the cherry red car zipping around the circuit? I love it. And, I mean, McLaren has some great merch, for sure. But I like better in red.
Yeah, I look terrible in red, so it wouldn't have worked out for me as a fan.
Yeah,
Papaya suits you well. Papaya suits you really well.
Thank you. Well, as much as I'm sure everyone would like to hear about what colors I can and can't pull off, let's tell you where to find us. So if you've listened so far, thanks so much for listening. We love to have you here. Like we mentioned, we drop episodes every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us on Instagram at grid.gals, You can also check out our website, gridgals.com. And you can also email us, gridgals@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, hear your thoughts on the show, topics you'd like to hear us discuss, or anything else on your mind related to Formula One.
Well, that's a checkered flag for this session. We'll see you guys on the grid next week.